At the base of Japan's Mount Fuji sits a place where compasses are rumored to spin wildly, where the gnarled roots of ancient trees twist over volcanic rock like skeletal fingers, and where the air is so still you can hear your own heart pounding in your ears. They call it Aokigahara, the Sea of Trees, but most of the world knows it by a more sinister name, the Suicide Forest. For decades, it's been a pilgrimage site for those in their darkest moments. In 2003, the last year numbers were widely publicized. Authorities officially found 105 bodies. But that wasn't the whole story. To quell its dark notoriety, the government stopped publicizing the numbers, but the patrols continue, and the grim discoveries have never really stopped. The legend says, a curse lingers here. A malevolent presence born from old tragedies that whispers to the desperate and lures them from the path. They say anyone who enters alone is a target, that the forest itself doesn't want you to leave. So, is the forest truly haunted, or has its dark reputation created a self-fulfilling prophecy, a place that just attracts tragedy? Is there something more going on here? In this investigation, we're journeying into the chilling silence of Aokigahara to uncover the truth behind the trees. We'll separate fact from folklore to answer the question, is Aokigahara cursed? To even begin to understand the darkness clinging to Aokigahara, you have to understand the place itself. This isn't your average woodland. Its origins are violent, its geology is strange, and its very atmosphere feels engineered to disorient and isolate. This isn't just a collection of trees, it's an environment that seems to actively work against you. The story starts in the 9th century, with a massive eruption of Mount Fuji. Molten lava flowed down the mountain, scorching everything in its path. When it finally cooled, it left behind a 30 square kilometer wasteland of black, porous volcanic rock. Over the next 1,200 years, life slowly returned. Moss and lichen grew on the rock, and eventually, a forest of hemlock and cypress took root, creating the dense canopy we see today. The Jukai, or Sea of Trees. But the forest floor is still a treacherous landscape. The ground isn't soft dirt, but a jagged, uneven surface of hardened lava. Tree roots can't dig into the rock, so they spread across the surface in a vast tangled web, creating endless trip hazards. The porous lava rock also does something strange. It absorbs sound. Step off a path, and the noise of the outside world just vanishes. Wind, birds, even your own footsteps seem to get swallowed by the quiet. People who've been there say the silence is so total, the only sounds are their own breathing and the frantic beat of their heart. It's an unnatural stillness that unnerves you and makes you feel completely alone. And then there's the forest's most famous legend, that the volcanic rock is so rich in magnetic iron, it makes compasses spin wildly and GPS fail. It's a great story, but it's mostly just that, a story. Geologists have shown the magnetic effect is minimal at best on modern devices. The real reason people get lost is much simpler and far more terrifying. In a dense, repetitive forest with no landmarks and a silence that swallows sound, it's incredibly easy to lose your way. That's why official trails are lined with plastic tape, a fragile lifeline in a place that feels designed to make you wander. But the forest's chilling reputation started long before GPS. It's deeply embedded in Japanese folklore. For centuries, Aokigahara has been associated with Yūrei, the ghosts of those who die sudden or violent deaths. According to legend, these tormented spirits are trapped here, endlessly wandering. They're said to be drawn to the sad and conflicted, whispering to them and luring them deeper into the forest. This belief is often tied to the grim folklore of ubasute. The stories claim that during times of famine, desperate families would lead their elderly relatives into the forest and abandon them to die. While the stories are powerful, historians widely debate how common this practice actually was, and there's little hard evidence it happened on a large scale in Aokigahara. Whether rooted in history or pure myth, these beliefs have shaped how people see Aokigahara for generations. It's seen not as a neutral place, but as a location with an active, malevolent will. The silence isn't just quiet. It's the forest, listening. The confusing terrain isn't just difficult, it's the forest trying to trap you. This powerful cultural story, layered over a uniquely disorienting geography, created the perfect storm for Aokigahara to become synonymous with death. A curse, a legend, a ghost story, those are intangible things. But in Aokigahara, the legend is written in statistics. The sheer number of lives lost here is staggering, transforming folklore into a horrifying, measurable reality. It's one thing to talk about ghosts. It's another to look at the cold, hard data of a place that became one of the world's most infamous suicide destinations. Aokigahara's modern reputation really took shape in the mid-20th century. A major turning point was the 1960 novel Kuroi Jukai, or Black Sea of Trees, by Seicho Matsumoto. The novel ends with a heartbroken couple taking their lives in the forest, a romanticized tragedy that captured the public imagination. After its publication, the number of people traveling to Aokigahara to die reportedly began to rise. Decades later, another book solidified the forest's grim status. In 1993, Wataru Tsurumi published The Complete Manual of Suicide. This controversial book was exactly what it sounds like, and it described Aokigahara as a perfect, peaceful place to die. The book was a bestseller, and in the years that followed, the death toll in the forest climbed dramatically. By the early 2000s, the numbers reached their horrifying peak. While earlier decades saw an average of about 30 confirmed suicides a year, by 2003, the number of officially discovered bodies hit 105. And that's just the bodies that were found by police and volunteer search parties. The true number is undoubtedly higher. The situation became a national crisis. Signs were posted along the trails in Japanese and English, urging visitors to reconsider. Messages like, "Your life is a precious gift from your parents," and "Please think of your family," are a desperate plea against the forest's pull. But worried the media attention was creating a copycat effect, Japanese officials made a big decision. After 2003, they stopped publicizing the annual death toll. Out of sight, though, is not out of mind. The volunteer patrols continue, and while prevention efforts have had an impact, the grim discoveries haven't ended. The victims are often men facing overwhelming social or financial pressures. They travel from all over Japan, leaving cars abandoned in the parking lots before walking into the trees with no intention of walking out. The most common method is hanging, a fact that has led to the chilling local saying that in some parts of the forest, the ropes hanging from branches outnumber the leaves. What makes the statistics of Aokigahara so unsettling is the consistency. It's a grim, steady pilgrimage of the hopeless, a testament to the forest's power as a symbol. A dark beacon for those who feel they have nowhere else to turn. The numbers are a chilling record of its tragic success. But what about the people who walk out? The ones who enter the sea of trees intending to die, but for one reason or another survive. Their stories are hauntingly consistent, and they paint a picture of a place that feels like an active participant in their ordeal, an entity that invited them in and fought to keep them there. One of the most common experiences survivors report is an overwhelming and inexplicable compulsion to wander deeper into the woods. They describe leaving the marked trails, not as a conscious choice, but as a response to a powerful internal pull, often paired with a strange sense of peace. This narrative of being lured or invited is central to the Yūrei folklore, but hearing it from modern survivors is profoundly disturbing. They also describe a severe distortion of time and space, reporting that what felt like minutes in the forest turned out to be hours. Others say the layout seemed to shift around them, with paths leading in circles. Then there are the auditory hallucinations. In the deep, sound-absorbing silence, people consistently report hearing things. Disembodied whispers, their name being called, or the sound of someone crying. So, are these the whispers of Yūrei, as the legends claim? Or is it the mind, under extreme psychological distress and sensory deprivation, playing tricks on itself? The unnatural quiet in Aokigahara is known to amplify your own internal thoughts. It's an environment that breeds paranoia and confusion. These first-hand accounts paint a picture of Aokigahara as a place that wages a psychological war on its visitors. The feelings of being watched, the suffocating isolation, the sense of a presence, it all creates an atmosphere of intense dread. We can try to rationalize these experiences. The silence amplifies internal thoughts. The isolation breeds paranoia. The stress of being lost causes confusion. But the consistency of the reports is hard to dismiss. From different people, across different decades, the story is unnervingly the same. The forest pulls you in, it confuses you, it speaks to you, and it doesn't want to let you go. The survivors are the ones who, by some miracle of will or luck, manage to ignore the invitation. We've looked at the history, the numbers, and the harrowing stories. Now we get to the central question. Is this forest cursed, or is it a tragic case of a place that self-selects for despair? The truth, like the forest itself, is dense and deeply unsettling. There are two ways of looking at the sea of trees, and the line between them is terrifyingly thin. On one hand, you have the argument for a curse, a genuine, malevolent force at work. Proponents of this view point to the folklore of the Yūrei, the tormented spirits said to haunt the woods. This ancient belief provides a supernatural framework that eerily matches the modern experiences of survivors. The reported phenomena, the disembodied voices, the compulsion to wander, the sense of an external pull are all classic hallmarks of a haunting. The consistency of these accounts challenges the idea that they're all just isolated psychological episodes. In this view, the forest's physical properties are the tools of the curse. The porous lava that swallows sound isn't just geology, it's the curse ensuring the only voice you hear is its own. Aokigahara, in this interpretation, is a predator. Then you have the other argument, which is more grounded in science and psychology but no less tragic. It suggests Aokigahara isn't haunted, but is instead the perfect storm of geography, culture, and media, creating a powerful psychological trap. Its power begins with its uniquely oppressive environment, the dense canopy, the disorienting terrain, the profound silence. These are all things that naturally induce anxiety and confusion. For someone already in a fragile mental state, this environment can be overwhelming. Then there's the power of suggestion. Fueled by centuries of folklore and decades of intense media portrayal, Aokigahara has been branded in the public consciousness as the place to go to die. This creates a grim form of self-selection. The forest doesn't need to call out to the desperate. They are already looking for it. Its reputation acts as a beacon. In this view, every supernatural element has a rational explanation. The Yūrei are a myth to explain the dread caused by extreme isolation. The whispers are auditory hallucinations caused by distress. The legend of the curse becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. So, what's the verdict? Curse or confluence? The unsettling truth might be that the distinction doesn't really matter. Aokigahara is a place where rational explanations start to feel incomplete. The sheer weight of the tragedy and the consistency of the stories leave a sliver of doubt, a chilling sense that maybe science can't explain everything that happens under those trees. The question isn't just whether the forest is haunted, but whether we, through our stories and our despair, have haunted it ourselves. So maybe the forest isn't cursed with ghosts and demons. Maybe its curse is its reputation. A curse forged by literature, amplified by the media, and sealed by every soul who chose it as their final resting place. It's a feedback loop of tragedy, where the story creates the reality, and the reality makes the story even more powerful. If you find these kinds of investigations into the dark corners of our world interesting, consider subscribing and joining our community of explorers. The world is full of mysteries, and together, we can try to understand them. Aokigahara stands as a somber, silent monument to human pain. It is a place that reminds us that some tragedies don't just witness death, they become synonymous with it. Whether that pull is supernatural or psychological, it is real. And for the hundreds, perhaps thousands, who have answered its call, that distinction makes no difference at all. And if you want to know if the story of Aokigahara is a myth or reality, then find out in the comments.